The New Zealand-born Pacific community is the fastest growing young demographic in New Zealand. This week, we look at the changing cultural identity of Pacific people born in New Zealand.
Can I share my own experience on being New Zealand born and Pacific? Well, to be honest, it's the only experience that I know, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. But in saying that, I do really believe it's an identity that I'm still exploring and I'm still growing into every day. I think culture for everyone is actually quite unique and it's not a fixed point. And I've found a lot of belonging and solace, I think, at the same time in the arts. In the world of creativity, I feel as though we're able to express ourselves in a way that you otherwise can't. So for me, writing and performing and getting my truth out into the world has really helped to define how I feel about being Pacific, how I feel about being a Kiwi, and saying that I'm really proud to be who I am.
Being born here in New Zealand and being a New Zealand born Pacific person is marrying the two of those frameworks, and for everyone it's different in terms of trying to negotiate between those two vastly different worlds. So for me, language is important. I'm very lucky to speak Niuean and have a good grasp of Niuean culture. Flip the coin, my Samoan side isn't that strong, so I can definitely relate to experiences of being not fully connected to language and what that means to being connected to identity. And yeah, I think that that's definitely played a part for me personally.
I've only kind of found the real value in it now that I'm a bit older. When I was younger, I didn't really embrace it as much. I think that's just because I wasn't really immersed in my culture growing up. And that was mostly just because my parents kind of tried to instill the English way, because that was the way that was going to help me be successful here in New Zealand.
I think that we can actually learn from each other and everyone's cultures, everyone helps each other and stuff like that.
I've worked in education for about 10 years now, mainly in engaging with youth. And a lot of the time it's been engaging with Māori or Pacific youth. So from a strengths-based perspective, using culture and using the idea of language, shared values as a point to relate with young people has informed my practice, and knowing that many of us come from shared experiences, whether that be trying to juggle between Pacific and Western models, or just being brown growing up here in New Zealand. And so that I think that helps my practice. And I think it's one thing to encourage young people to embrace their culture, but it's another thing to also do that yourself. It just adds value to your own practice, but also from a personal point of view.
My creative practice has been a place where I can create the kind of acceptance I never really felt as a young person. And the whole journey hasn't just been about creating a place of acceptance for myself. As a writer and as a performer, when I'm working with young people especially, young Māori and Pacific children and young people in this country, some of the things that I come across in them all the time are things that I myself used to feel. A lot of issues around belonging. You'll hear a lot of young people talk about not feeling as though they are brown enough or Pacific enough. So for me, my own personal creative practice and how my culture and how my values play into that, I guess in a way, my artistic purpose has become the pursuit of having that solidity and that belonging in a place to stand that I never really felt I had.
Being in New Zealand, we have the Ministry of Pacific Peoples, We have Pacific Languages Weeks. We have a number of schools that allow young people to wear their tauwala or their iwhaikanga to school. We have Polyfest, which is the largest cultural festival of its kind in the world. So I think we are afforded quite a lot here. And I think should you want to find a place where you're able to grab from both sets of worlds, both from a Western world and in a Pacific world or worlds, I think one of the advantages of growing up here in New Zealand is we're in a place where that's easily available. There's some parts of South Auckland where you can speak Tongan the whole time. You can go up and down the shops of Utahuhu and you just feel like you're in Tonga. And so I just think that's some of the advantages of growing up here in New Zealand is our population base. And because we've been here so long and we've been able to permeate, so to speak, into mainstream culture, and some of mainstream culture has taken on a Pacific flavor.
In terms of like Pacific Island cultures clashing, nah, I don't really find that like a barrier or like anything negative. I actually find that positive. So it's like I enjoy learning about other people, other cultures.
I was never accepted fully as kind of like a Pacific Islander from people that were born in the island. I was never really fully accepted by the Western world either. So it was just it was massive tension growing up, trying to figure out like where I belong and where I fit. Because even though I might want to kind of delve more into my Pacific culture, it was hard to do so because you were still kind of judged for being New Zealand born. Being New Zealand born Pacific has helped distinguish myself as an artist and as a startup business kind of director from other people. So I think that's definitely been an advantage, especially in this business space. We've met people along the way that are doing similar things and we've kind of all been able to band together. And I've got so much support from other Pasifika people in the space. So that's been a real advantage.
It was decided for us that we would be these people. How to be these people and to be proud of who we are, I think, is the chapter that we are writing now. And the message that I would like to see us all take forward would be one of unity and positivity and connectedness, and that whatever you are, wherever you are from, whether you're an eighth or 3/4 or whether you don't even deal in blood quantums at all, we all have a part in this story. We all have a stake in this. We all have a claim to greatness just for who we are. And I really hope to see in the years to come that the measuring we do, poking fingers at each other and saying you're enough or you're not enough or you aren't doing this right or you're doing this wrong, I hope those messages change into how can we learn together? How can we develop together? How can we remember where we come from? But how can we also honour the people that brought us here, our own elders, and continue to push and move forward?
I hope that more of our New Zealand-born Pacific feel or have a lot more courage to pursue things that they actually love to do. I think that if you look after yourself, which is something that's quite foreign to us as Pacific people, but yeah, if you look after yourself, you will be in a much better position to help others, which is a really hard thing to do, but I think, yeah, that would be.
If I just jump back to this old adage about this idea that language doesn't get you a job or culture's not going to pay your bills, I think if we can answer that very straightforward and go, probably that I can agree with that. But if we push past this idea of being quite black and white and just embrace this idea of well-being and wholeness and being happy and being blessed with who you are, then I think that encompasses way beyond paychecks and bills and encompasses things like identity, which can be hard to tangibly touch and feel, but it definitely can be felt when it's not there.
Just stay true to yourself. and you know it's cool to express other cultures, but just remember that you have your own culture that you should express too. Yeah.